I see you not taking risks because you're so terrified of it not working out. But what if it does? And also, it's okay if it doesn't, because then you know how to adjust it. Then you know in real time that you have actual feedback. Welcome to Tried and True with a Dash of Woo, where we're all about mixing tried and true strategies that actually work with the magic of manifestation and the science of programming your unconscious mind so that you walk away feeling integrated, inspired, and aligned. I'm Renee Bowen, certified life and business coach, professional photographer, middle-aged wife, and mom to now 3 grown kids. I've built 2 multiple 6-figure businesses with 0 business training by digging in, learning the methods, and now I'm here to pass them all on to you. From photography and business strategies to energy healing, human design, and the basics of manifestation, we cover it all here. I'm here to help you embrace your multi-passionate brains and lean into the fastest and most efficient ways to reach your goals, whatever they may be. Whether you're a seasoned pro or just starting out, or maybe you're just here for the woo-woo, let's dive in and explore all the exciting ways to take your life, business, and self-improvement to the next level. Thanks for joining me, and get ready to be inspired. Hi friends, welcome back to Tried and True with a Dash of Woo. I'm your host, Renee. Today, we are diving into a topic that's super close to my heart and vital for every creative entrepreneur out there. It's about the power of persistence, the magic of not giving up, and how staying the course can transform your dreams into actual reality here on our Earth plane. In this episode, I am drawing inspiration from none other than Napoleon Hill, who is an icon in the world of personal development and success. He's really known most, I think, for his legendary book, Think and Grow Rich. And that in itself is just a testament to the philosophy that our minds are incredibly powerful tools in achieving your goals. His life was not just about writing principles. It was a journey of embodying resilience and unwavering belief in one's vision. And if you haven't read it, you really need to. So why is Napoleon Hill's story so compelling? Well, he began his journey with a simple assignment to interview successful people, and he ended up dedicating 20 years of his life to understanding what makes people successful. His perseverance in studying success led to insights that have inspired millions and millions of people. His philosophy wasn't just about hard work. It was about the synergy of desire, faith, and persistence. And he believed that the starting point of all achievement is desire. And this desire, if persisted upon, transforms into its physical equivalent. And this, my friends, is like the essence of not giving up, right? It's about holding on to that inner fire, that burning desire, no matter what the odds are against you. So in today's episode, we're going to talk about some real life stories, some famous people that I think are really inspiring, who really embody his principles, and we're also going to see how their persistence kind of paid off in, yes, extraordinary ways, but also how this could help you in your just everyday life. And my intention with this episode is to give you a swift kick in the pants, if you need one, to help you keep going. Because trust me, I definitely understand what this time of year in particular can feel like to a creative with a busy brain. I mean, a lot of you guys are stuck under snow right now. I'm not, but I still get it, right? I talk about a lot how I, just have this baseline of anxiety, and it has just reared up in a big bad way the last 3 to 4 weeks. My anxiety is off the charts, and I have not dealt with it like this in years. So that's a whole other topic, but I just want you to know that, January and February for creatives, especially for photographers, tends to be, kind of that like, sort of time of year. So if you're going through it, if you're dealing with any, mental health stuff or just feeling down or not feeling like you have what it takes to keep going, that's why I created this episode. That's my intention with this episode. Okay, so let's go into the core of Napoleon Hill's teachings and how they resonate so powerfully with us creatives and entrepreneurs. His work, especially in Think and Grow Rich, it's more than just a book. It's a manual for manifesting success through the power of thought and persistence. And one of his most profound teachings is the concept of the mastermind. He believed that no individual has ever achieved success without the help and cooperation of others. This principle is really crucial for us, especially in, this interconnected world we live in as creatives. It's really about collaboration, networking, and leveraging collective intelligence. So think about it. When was the last time a project, anything, succeeded purely on solo effort, right? Think about how a movie is made. Those credits last a long time. There are so many people who go into creating even just small independent films. Ask me how I know, because my husband's done a couple, and it's a hell of a lot of work, right? So just in our everyday lives, let's just say, for an example, you are trying to do a really cool shoot for your senior rep team. If you're a photographer and you run a senior rep team, you know how in depth that can be. For me, I always like to include a brand, at least one brand to work with as far as clothing, makeup artists, hair artists. We've got to coordinate the schedules of all the people on the team. These, high school seniors are very busy. So are their parents. Maybe if there's a space that you're renting, if you're going to have snacks, like there's so many different things and so many different people that go into making something successful. And when we try and do too many things on our own without outsourcing appropriately or at least automating, that is when we run ourselves into the ground. And I have to be really honest with you, I am teetering on that edge myself right now. Okay. I am not here to try and be your guru who seems to have it all perfect, because I don't. And there are definitely times when I'm killing it. I'm not saying that, that doesn't happen, but it's been rough the last few weeks. Like it's been really tough. And I think that it was probably a culmination of, my husband being on strike a lot last year, me taking on a lot more work last year than I intended to. I'm glad that I was able to, but I'm really tired, you guys. I'm really burnt out. And I got sick last week with a awful, awful virus that I would not wish on my worst enemy. And that's why, so I'm not telling you all of these things because I think I have it all together. I want you to really understand that I get it. But I feel like this has been on my mind, and I've been seeing, you guys talking about this in my communities and posing questions to me in, some of the groups. So that's another reason why I wanted to highlight this topic for this week's podcast. We can't do it by ourselves. It is so much, not just easier, right? You're going to go so much faster when you are with like-minded individuals. So if you're feeling alone, if you're feeling isolated, because this is the time of year that that's going to happen, I want you to just, try and reach out, at least in the free groups. If you can't, join any kind of paid groups, definitely try and insert yourself where you can. I know that our Voxer group for Elevate is just popping off the last few days. Like, oh my gosh, we have some new people in the group. So it's been really fun, but also kind of exhausting trying to keep up with everything, all the different topics that are coming through. But I really love it. And I'm really grateful that I can provide that for these people. Okay, so another cornerstone, let's say, of Napoleon Hill's philosophy is the power of a positive mental attitude. He famously said, whatever the mind can conceive and believe it can achieve. Now, this quote isn't just about, toxic positivity and wishful thinking. I don't think so anyway. I really believe it's about the genuine belief in our ability to achieve our goals. And it's a call to cultivate a mindset that embraces possibilities rather than limitations. And you guys hear me talk about that a lot, right? I normally on the regular consider myself to be an optimistic person, and I do believe that we have to have a great combination of grit, taking action, and optimism. So, grit and optimism, and that optimistic attitude, this positive belief that things are working out. You guys don't understand how many times I have repeated to myself in the last week as I'm recovering from this virus, all is well, my timing is perfect, everything is working out exactly the way that it is meant to. Breathe. Like, I am hardcore doubling down on that because I really need to right now. Like it's hard to stay optimistic when your body feels like it's failing you, right? So those of you who deal with chronic health conditions, I send you so much love and grace because that has to be tremendously hard. So if you are struggling with anything like that, and you're finding it hard to continue to stay optimism, I hear you, I see you, I get that. So I'm not talking about like, let's just wash that, away and sweep that under the rug and act like you're totally fine. I just want to highlight that one of his, cornerstone beliefs is that this positive mental attitude is what kind of keeps us going. It keeps us driving, forward, moving forward. One of my husband's favorite sayings is living forward, which I think is really cool. And, I feel like, especially now in these unprecedented times, we really do need to kind of double down on, all right, where are our beliefs? Where do they really lie? Yeah, we're going to have some bad days, but at the core of it, no, I am a badass, as Jensen Cheryl always says, and I've got this. And I absolutely can make this dream of mine a reality. Napoleon Hill also emphasized the importance of setting really clear, well-defined goals. And I talk about that a lot. Last week's podcast was all about that. And I've gotten a lot of good feedback, by the way, just as a side note. So thank you guys for that. I love hearing about how you're actually using the materials that I create for you guys. So there's a whole PDF you can download. And a couple of you guys really sent me the sweetest DMs on Instagram. So thank you for that. Napoleon Hill believed that goals act as a compass, guiding our subconscious mind toward achieving our desires. And for us in the creative field, this could mean setting really specific targets for, projects, business growth, personal development. If you haven't had a chance to sit down yet this year and outline what those goals are going to look like for you in 2024, I highly encourage you to do it. You don't have to use my PDF or even listen to that podcast, but as long as you do something that feels good to you, I really invite you to do that at this time of year before we sort of kind of get moving, because you really do have to, for me anyway, I have to have something that I can see that I'm reaching for. And they're not all just business goals. Yes, a lot of them are, but I sat down this morning and, tomorrow is this huge transition where Pluto goes into Aquarius. It's been in Capricorn for a long time. And so there's a lot of like big astrological transits happening. And this morning I was just feeling, like I said, anxious and tired because I haven't been sleeping well, which is also not common for me. I am really good at sleeping. Like Even when my anxiety is high, I can sleep, but not the last couple of days. So I knew that I needed to wake up and start my day with a meditation, with getting really grounded. And it helped tremendously, I will tell you that. So I listened to a really beautiful activation that a friend of mine did with one of her groups and sent me. And I just felt so inspired to sit down and just journal and write. And so what came out is a whole plethora of things that not just I want to accomplish this year, but how I want to feel. And a lot of it, when I was looking back on it after, a lot of it was personal. It definitely wasn't all business. It was, I want to be able to just feel more ease in my life. I want to travel more. I, definitely am unsubscribing and have been for a while now to hustle culture and truly trusting that I don't have to work 24/7 to get the results that I desire in my business or my life, that I can definitely take action, but I don't need to work myself to death to get to that place. And in fact, it's in those moments of ease and pause and receiving that the good stuff actually comes to me. And I end up making way bigger strides in my business when I do that. I kid you not, when I let go, when I actively remind myself to stop pushing so hard, that's when clients come to me. That's when my inbox gets flooded with inquiries. It happens like clockwork, and I have proof of it. And so it's all about reminding myself, reminding myself over and over again. So I want you to look for that proof yourself and remind yourself as well that there has to be some action taking. Yes, I'm not saying you can just kind of sit around and expect life to just fall into your lap, but we don't need to push so hard. We have to, especially as creatives, allow ourselves the space to receive inspiration so that we can be creative, so that we can feel in flow. And that was one of my main goals that I outlined this morning. I want to be more in flow than trying to, push through a brick wall. So one of the other main things that Napoleon Hill talks about, and one I think is really interesting and impactful, is this principle of going the extra mile. He advised providing more service than what one, technically paid for as an investment in our future. So this doesn't mean overworking ourselves. Rather, it's about adding exceptional value to your work, which in turn attracts more opportunities and success. So how can you, and this is some of the things that I was asking myself this morning, how can you embed more value into what you are doing? How can you pour more intention, connection, grace, all of that, insert whatever it is you'd like. How can you pour more of yourself into your clients, in your business, in a way that doesn't mean you actually doing all of that work, right? But how can you give them an amazing experience, for example? That's the kind of stuff I want you to sort of reframe this with. He also emphasized a lot about learning from adversity and failure. And he said, every adversity, every failure, every heartache carries with it the seed of an equal or greater benefit. So in our journey, failures are not just setbacks. They're stepping stones to much greater achievements. I really believe that. And I do believe that there are opportunities for growth and learning and resilience. And too many of us were never taught to fail properly, okay? And I know that a lot of us come from different generations. I'm Gen X, so we're not the trophy for everything generation, right? However, we also are a generation filled with perfectionists because we didn't want to mess up, because bad things happened when we messed up usually. So while we weren't praised necessarily for, not really accomplishing things necessarily, right? That how that whole everybody gets a trophy, right? Participation. While we didn't necessarily have that as part of our childhood, we definitely felt that we had to be held to a pretty high standard, I feel like. And at least I see that in so many of my Gen X coaching students. We are very hard on ourselves. We're really, we're overthinkers, we're perfectionists, and we're hypervigilant. And a lot of us have a lot of anxiety. Because, yeah, we had a wild sort of childhood, and, some of us had great ones and some of us had not great ones. But my point being, that did shape us. And we were never really taught that it's okay to fail, right? So I think one of the best things you can do with your kids, and I don't feel like I did this with mine. I definitely don't. That's definitely something I would like to, redo if I could. Show them that failing is okay. Sarah Blakely talks about this a lot. She's the founder CEO of Spanx. She talks about the fact that her father was really big on this. Like every day when they got home from school, or I guess at dinner, he would ask them, what did you mess up? Or how did you fail today? And they celebrated these failures. And when I first heard that story, I was like, that is insane. Like, I mean, I'd never heard anything like that before. In my mind, failing was like death. It was definitely not something I wanted to do. But as an entrepreneur, we have to learn how to fail, because if you don't take risks, you don't get the reward. And so many of us, so many of you guys, because I see this all the time, and I see it especially when you are trying to raise prices, I see you not taking risks because you're so terrified of it not working out. But what if it does? And also, it's okay if it doesn't, because then you know how to adjust it. Then you know in real time that you have actual feedback. You do have to give it time. I'm not talking like a month. There's a lot of you guys who raise your prices for like a month, nobody books, and then you like, see, I told you. Well, okay, you're going to find proof of whatever you're looking for. You need to give it a little bit more space than that. And obviously there's some strategy that goes into it. So you get my drift there. But in general, failing is not a bad thing. So as we kind of move through this episode, I want you to just keep these principles in the back of your mind. Think about how they apply in your life, your creative journey, how you can leverage the power of collaboration. Are you maintaining a positive mental attitude toward your goals? Are you setting clear targets and going the extra mile in your endeavors? And most importantly, are you learning from the failures and turning them into stepping stones for success? Because remember, it's not about the destination. It's about the journey and who you are becoming along the way. Okay, so I want to bring up a few famous people and their stories, because I want you to have really good examples so that your unconscious mind can hold on to them. Okay, so these are people who faced obstacles. They endured their failures and they never gave up. That's the key, right? It's the whole thing, not giving up. So let's go all the way back to Thomas Edison. Now, his story is just like, the classic example of persistence. He failed thousands of times before he successfully invented the light bulb. He famously said, I haven't failed. I have just found 10,000 ways that won't work. So his relentless pursuit and absolute refusal to see failures as setbacks is exactly what eventually led to his groundbreaking invention that literally changed our world. Think about what would have happened if he had given up. And then J.K. Rowling, whether we're not going to go into her controversy here, because there's some controversy surrounding her. But I do think that she is a good example of perseverance. Obviously she's the author of Harry Potter, and her journey to success was like not smooth, right? She faced a lot of rejection from multiple publishers before her first book was finally accepted. Her persistence paid off, obviously, in the end, turning that series into a global phenomenon and like huge, just massive. But again, there were many, many times where she could have very, very easily given up, like very easily. There's a ton of stories online about like how they had to live, her and her family, when she was writing that book, and it was not fun for any of them. I could talk to you about Oprah Winfrey, okay? Obviously, incredibly difficult childhood that she overcame to become a media mogul. And she's obviously very, vocal in all of that. So it's not hard to find snippets of her story online, obviously. But her journey is just really a reminder that our past doesn't define our future. That's what I really love about her story. I could talk to you about Walt Disney and how he faced bankruptcy and numerous setbacks before finding success. And Steve Jobs, co-founder of Apple, obviously, famously ousted from Apple, the company that he founded, only to return years later to save it from near bankruptcy and then lead it to become, one of the most successful tech companies ever. All of these people faced setbacks. I know that it's really easy to look at them now, especially these last few that I gave you, who had great monetary success, and say, well, it must be nice, right? But they all had really big setbacks. They didn't start with the success that they ended up with, but they didn't let any of those setbacks define their journeys, right? They persisted, they learned, they eventually achieved this extraordinary success because they just persevered. I think Harrison Ford also famously said something in an interview once that I really loved, because he did not really find success as an actor until later in his life. He was a carpenter. And, I don't know, I know the specifics, but I'm going to really butcher it, so I'm not going to go into it. But I definitely remember hearing him, like how he kind of, got discovered and ended up being Han Solo, and then his career took off. And he basically said, I just basically decided that it was a numbers game, and that eventually all of these other guys were going to just give up. But if I never gave up and I just kept going, then I would eventually book a job. So, I think that it's definitely something to think about, right? Like, what's your staying power? And again, you have to like dig deep, and maybe you're at a crossroads in your life. Maybe you're at a crossroad in your business where you're like, I don't really know if I should pursue this any further, right? And that's a valid question to ask yourself. It really is. But I want you to make sure that you're not making that decision based out of fear, and that you're making a decision that really feels good and right for you. So try and just, create that distinction. See if you can be intuitive and quiet enough to listen to yourself, because you do know, you have the answer. It's in there. Even if there's a lot of fear. And if a lot of fear comes up when you think about it, then that is not a good place to be making decisions from, right? You might be at a place where you were considering a pivot or something different, or maybe you're just losing the happiness, right? Like the spark that you used to get from it. So it could be burnout. That could be part of it. It could be anxiety. It could be fear. It could be all kinds of stuff. Just make sure that you get, some clarity around that before you make that really big decision, because I would hate to see you give up on something that you truly love. And deep down, you really know the answer. Deep down, you really know what's right for you. And the whole point for this episode and for this discussion, this conversation, is to help you, hopefully, decipher what is intuition, what is real, and what is fear. Okay. And the thing is, your unconscious mind really does want proof of that this can happen. So that's why I wanted to share some stories with you. And those are pretty famous, but there's a couple of lesser known people that I outlined that I want to also talk to you about because I feel like their stories are super inspiring and, lesser known. So Patricia Bath, she is a trailblazing African-American woman. She faced numerous challenges in her journey to become an ophthalmologist. And despite these hurdles posed by racism and sexism, she persisted in her studies and her career. And then in 1986, she invented the laser phaco. I am probably butchering the way that is said. Laser phaco probe, which is a revolutionary device for cataract treatment. And so that made her the first African-American female doctor to receive a medical patent. And her invention not only changed the field of ophthalmology, but also restored sight to people who had been blind for decades. I mean, that's amazing. That's amazing. And then Chris Gardner, I love this story because it was famously portrayed in the film The Pursuit of Happiness. I actually really loved that movie. And he was once homeless and struggling as a single father. That movie just broke my heart. He never gave up on his dream of becoming a stockbroker. He endured numerous setbacks and challenges, spending nights in the subway bathroom with his son, which I cannot even imagine. And his perseverance paid off when he eventually founded his own multi-million-dollar brokerage firm, right? So truly a testament to the power of resilience and unyielding pursuit of one's dreams, no matter the circumstances. So let's break down some of Napoleon Hill's main points that he talks about and talk about how you can actually implement these in your life right now so that you can keep going. So the first one is one that I talk about probably a lot. I feel like you really need to have clarity on your desire, right? Clarity on your why, your purpose. Okay, now Napoleon Hill emphasized starting with a very clear and strong desire. So ask yourself, what do I really want? Honestly, what do I really, truly want? Put all the other stuff aside, all the noise, quiet the noise of other people in your life. Be specific, whether it is a, specific niche of business that you want, or a creative project, or a personal goal. You need to define it really clearly. Write it down, okay? The clarity will be a guide for you. You can't go anywhere if you don't know where you're going. If you plug in something to your GPS, like if I told you, hey, let's go to this really new, awesome restaurant that I love, and I don't have the address, how are we going to get there? So you have to know where you're going, and you have to be very specific. So the more specific, the easier it is too for the universe to give it to you, because again, it's just going to mirror back whatever you're sort of resonating out. So be clear and strong in that message. If you haven't deeply defined your purpose, I want you to do that. I invite you to do that, especially if you are in my coaching groups and you haven't done that, you've got the materials. So please let me know how I can help you get further with that if you feel stuck. And you guys know that I love Simon Sinek, so he is a fantastic resource. Google him, read his book, look at his YouTube. There's so many people who can help you for free on YouTube. Okay? So you just have to start. Napoleon Hill also said, whatever the mind can conceive and believe, it can achieve, right? So we talked about that earlier. So I want you to really, really double down and believe in your abilities. Start nurturing a deep belief in your ability to achieve your goals, and also a belief in yourself as an artist, as a creative. Okay? So many of you guys, this is rampant in the creative world. As an artist, we think everything that we do sucks. Okay, I totally get it. I have definitely looked at an image for way too long, and after editing it for a while, I'll look at it and say, this actually sucks anyway, and I'm not even going to show it. We do that kind of stuff all the time. It's so stupid. But that, I think, is part of being an artist. I tell this to my son all the time. He's a musician, and He has a perfectionist thing as well. And, you know, it's one of those things that you want it to be so good, right? But you have to put out a bunch of crap before you can put out something that's really great. Any like successful anyone, but especially artists, are going to tell you that. You got to make some bad stuff. You have to make mistakes. So it's one of the first things that I tell young photographers or new photographers who are just starting out. Yeah, I want you to value yourself and I want you to build a really strong business and understand all of that stuff, but you got to be good at what you do. You really got to like have the work to back up all of that. So practice, mess up. You've got to definitely allow yourself to play, and believe in the fact that you are getting better with every single time you snap a picture, with every painting, with whatever it is you do. You are getting better and better and better. And those of you who have been at it a while, your work is good, right? Like there's a lot of you guys out there who I've seen some amazing photographers, and it just makes me so sad that you don't believe that you are good. It does. It's truly sad. It's like, oh my gosh, if you could just see what we see, right? It's like how we tell our kids, like, if you guys could just see how amazing you are. That's what I feel like with you guys so many times. So, you can try all of the different things that I've talked about on here and online: affirmations, reprogramming your unconscious crap. I'm going to keep saying it. Visualization exercises, NLP, or just simply surrounding yourself with people who are positive influences. That can also reinforce your belief in yourself. So, believing that you can actually achieve your stuff, and also believing that your work is good and you are worthy right now. You don't have to wait to become worthy. You're born worthy. If nobody told you that, there it is. You're already worthy. So there is no waiting. You can do everything now. You can implement all of this now. You don't have to wait. Another strategy I would invite you to consider is to just develop that plan and act on it. A goal without a plan is just a wish. Okay. So you can set a goal. What are you going to do about it? What's going to happen? Do you have a plan? Do you have strategy? You guys hear me talk about strategy all the time online, especially when it comes to marketing. But I want you to develop a step-by-step plan to actually reach whatever that goal is that you've set. Okay. Because you're going to sit down and do those goals. But what is the strategy? Again, in that PDF I gave you guys last week for the podcast, we talk about it there as well. Break it down into actionable tasks. Bulk it, like chunk it down, okay? Because with creative brains, we try and do all the things all at once and then we shut down. You have to chunk it down. And most importantly, you got to act on it. Inspired action. Persistence is not just about having a desire or belief. It's about consistent action. What are you doing every single day to make sure that you are becoming the person you desire to be and reach the goals that you have set for yourself every day? And I'm not talking about a long laundry list. What's one thing that you're doing? Okay. Consistent action. Napoleon Hill was a really big advocate of mastermind groups, as you know, because we kind of went over that in the beginning. I mean, that's where it all comes from. Surround yourself with people who are like-minded individuals. I'm not saying you have to join an official mastermind, but be around the people. Be about it, right? Be obsessed with it. If you've got this on your mind and your heart, be about it. Like Beyonce says, be around like-minded individuals who share those aspirations and your commitment. Okay. And this network of people can offer support, obviously, and advice and accountability, but they can also offer jobs and opportunities. That's another reason why you join a mastermind group. Like if you end up doing that, and some of you may have already done, things like that, but joining a mastermind gives you access to things and people and opportunities that you would not have had you not joined. And that's why they're so valuable, you guys. As far as the whole failing thing, going to circle back to that for a second too. You might want to even start tracking it, right? It might be fun to track some of the things that didn't work. Make it a game. gamify it for your brain so that it doesn't feel so charged. It doesn't feel so big. Okay, we got to trick our brains. And persistence is like a muscle. The more you use it, the stronger it gets. So start with like just small commitments and follow through. Check the box. Say, yep, I did it. I followed through on that. And then celebrate your small victories. I always talk about this too. You guys have to pat yourselves on the back and you've got to reward yourselves. Celebrate those small little victories because this is going to build your confidence and your ability to continue to persist on those bigger ones. People talk about that all the time, about how, oh my God, how did these people like accomplish these massive goals? It seems like so impossible to us to even consider it. It's because they failed a lot, but it's also because they had smaller goals along the way and they accomplished them and they gained confidence. That's how you gain confidence. Somebody just asked me that not long ago in one of my groups. How are you so confident, Renee? And I was like, well, first of all, it depends on the day. Second of all, it's because over time, I have had small wins that built into bigger wins. And eventually I'm able to see them. First of all, you have to be able to notice those small wins, right? Don't just sweep them under the rug. Like how you do when people give you compliments. Notice it. If somebody's giving you a compliment for something that you did that's awesome, thank you. Thank you. Yes, that was pretty badass. And yeah, I am going to pat myself on the back for that. Okay. Do those little things every time. And then over time, it's going to snowball into much bigger wins and much bigger celebrations. And that's how you build confidence. It doesn't just magically appear. So I want to talk really quickly about this maintaining a positive mental attitude, because like I said, that's one of Napoleon Hill's core things and something that I talk about a lot that I really believe is a very big factor in the level of success for people. I mean, I don't know about you, but most of the successful people that I see, that I'm around, are pretty optimistic. They're not a glass half empty kind of person. They're just not, So if you find yourself surrounded by a lot of people who are like naysayers or very cynical, and, listen, sarcasm is like Gen X's baseline. I get it. But I've been around a lot of people in my life in the past, not anymore, but in the past, who were very like cynical, very sarcastic, you know, seeing people who are successful and saying, well, it must be nice for them, that kind of stuff. I'm just not going to be around those people. I'm not, because that is not the vibe that I want to be on. That doesn't feel good to me. And I know that that's not going to get me where I want to go. That's not an abundant mindset. It's scarcity, it's constricted, and it's rooted in lack. And it's rooted in feeling really crappy about yourself. So all that to say, if you find yourself surrounded by those kind of people in your personal life, then it is even more important for you to surround yourself by the opposite in your professional life. So yeah, you should be joining groups. You should be looking for that outside of, your personal circle so that you can counteract that, because what's going to happen probably over time is that those other things are going to fall away over time, because you're going to prioritize the positivity, and that's going to pull you forward. And again, none of this means ignoring, traumas and major challenges that you actually have in your life. It just means facing them with a constructive and positive attitude, right? So, Napoleon Hill also said, your attitude, not your aptitude, will determine your altitude. Which I really love, because you know me, I'm always talking about like higher vibes. So I just love that. And then lastly, persistence really requires energy. Okay. Tony Robbins talks about this a lot. If you haven't been to one of his events, like this man, like, I don't know, his level of energy is just unprecedented. And the reason why that is because he takes such, care of his physical and mental health. And if you want to go far, you've got to take care of your physical and your mental health, whatever that looks like for you. Regular moving your body of some kind, eating well, nourishing yourself with food that is actually really good for you, and getting sufficient sleep, which is something that which is something that is very top of mind for me. Like I said in the beginning, I haven't been sleeping really well lately. So I am going to be doing some hypnosis tonight before I go to bed. And that always usually kind of does the trick for me. Doing all of these things to make sure your physical body and your mental health, that it's all in alignment, it's really, really important. Okay. Because like we talked about on the mindfulness episode that I did, that can greatly enhance your ability to persist. So all of these things, I believe, work together to help you keep going, to help you persist, to help you, look around and find the positivity and not give up and decide, choose, because it is a choice. We always have a choice, but to choose to stick around, to choose to share your art and your creativity with the world, to choose to provide an amazing experience and value that no one else can do like you can, to continue to choose to do that every day. And I think all of these little pieces that I kind of outlined today really need to be in place for that to happen. But I'd love to hear your feedback on this as well. If you think one is a bigger factor for you than the other, have you read Napoleon Hill? I'd love to know as well what your feedback is on that. I could talk about that kind of stuff all day. So you know where to find me in the DMs on Instagram. I'm always willing to chat about that kind of stuff. And as we wrap up, I just want you to remember that persistence is a journey. It's about falling down 7 times and standing up 8. Every time that you take a new step, right? Every setback that you overcome, it brings you closer to your dream. So keep pushing, keep striving. And remember that the only real failure is when you stop trying. Think about a baby when they're learning to walk. Do they just stop? No, they keep going. They keep getting back up, and they fall a lot. Some more than others. My son was, oh my God. But they keep getting back up and they keep trying, even though it hurts when they fall, because they know that's the only way to keep going. It's we have this, in us, this drive. I'm going to walk, damn it. And then we get kind of complacent as adults, right? So no complacency. I want you to get back up. I want you to keep going, because the world really does need you, your voice, your message, your art, your creativity. We need it now more than ever. Don't give up. Keep going. I am always cheering for you. I hope you have an amazing week. Thanks for joining me. I love you guys.